very red board to show you here. 2+% for Meta right now on this board anyways. 2.8 for Microsoft, 1.18 for Google. Apple down there faring a little bit better, only a full percent. Intel still a nice day. 1% upside, meanwhile. 3% for AMD, Nvidia. Downside in a big way as well. There is some green on here. Utility stocks, for one. They've been absolutely hammered over the past couple of days, so getting a little bit of reprieve today and a little bit of a bounce for utility names. Industrials and transportation names specifically pretty weak as well. It's one of those days, unfortunately, right across the whole thing. VIX higher, so volatility spiking as we make this move to the downside. We also have bond yields back higher as well, along with the USD. Here is the Qs. I was noting this before we came on here at 2 o'clock. If I just do this quick measurement, 8.9% currently from the highs. We're getting ever closer to that 10% mark again. I don't even want to say the word, guys, but both the S&P and the NASDAQ about that same distance. So 8.9 right now for the NASDAQ. It's about 8.1, 8.2% off the highs for the S&P as we get going here on a Tuesday.
Don't be scared. The market's just heading to the downside. I don't know why that made me laugh. There's not a lot of green on that board, but one of them that's notable because I likey in this little bit of a dip is Procter. Procter's under the 50. I'm just throwing it out there because I'm looking at it, and I'm in the bid of this bad boy. Some stink biddage in the mid 40s. Well, underneath 45. I'm just kind of looking at the low 40s in there. That looks like an interesting name, but you're not going to find many opportunities to be long today. Actually, that's not true. You're not going to find many positive opportunities to being long today. The market is going in the other direction. As you mentioned there, Brendo, you know, kind of look at just about anything, and it's been a red day. The market, I don't know if we hunt past the 2% level. A couple of notable names. Apple's only 1%, so if this plays catch up, then, you know, what does that do to the NASDAQ and the ES? Do you hunt 2.5%? Do you hunt 3% if Apple plays catch up and gets to that 2%? It doesn't really matter where you've looked. I think the opportunities have been abound. I'm in 3 shorts. All 3 of them were names that, 2 of them are names that we had early today, and then, you know, added CCL to the list. That was a lunch money, like 13 level. Notion, it failed 13. It's back into the lows. The lower hanging fruit, when you get a move like that, is to assume the trend continues as opposed to generally fighting it. So if you find something strong, good on you. We'll see what happens with that Molson halt, and if it opens back up, maybe there's a trade there. It does look like it's going to be to the downside. And that bounce in Meta, maybe there is something off that 300 for the job cuts, because you know what's holding that 300 still? Maybe one of the last few names that looks reasonable for a long support at the actual low. Everything else, fresh lows, quadroon kind of day. We're almost at 2% now. I don't remember the last time we had a 3% day. Obviously, it's happened. I just don't remember the last time we've had one, and that feels like a possibility today.
Yeah, we talked about this all morning long, and I just, you know, like we're $1 in the money on Apple right now. We're $3.50 in the money on Airbnb. Like we're $1 in the money. Like, you know, we reloaded Amazon there. The reason why my attitude is not the greatest is because, like, we should still be short, like, a lot of shares. Like, this never really got going. I mean, I guess in the midday there, we kind of breached the bottom a little bit and made its way back up. But there was no reason to get out of any of these, man. I mean, it's like barcoded down, you know. So, like, right now, sure, we have bangers on. I mean, there's really, I didn't even talk about Tesla. That's $2 in the money now. And it's like, we got stopped out there. We took it again. That's not a stop out. We took it again right there. That's keystroke. Waiting for 250 to break, right? So right now we're short at 249.60. So we gave ourselves 40 cents worth of space. So there's the one take at 248.60. That's $1. And now we're waiting for VWAP to finally break. We already screwed up Tesla once. I feel bad about that because we were down here to 245 and we got out at 247 after taking that $3. But we're just keep on going up and away with Tesla here. gave us that 250 a little bit. Now you're starting to fly back down. So just feel like there was a lot of opportunities there today. Micron was actually a great long. We got some out, then it went back up to VWAP, and we took it out at 68.45. Now we're just holding 10% left. It looks like it wants to dip back in again there on Micron. So the only long that we have is that. But we're holding these positions, and we're at the highest spot we've been at all day. AMD is interesting down here at $100 as well. Oops, that's Airbnb. Airbnb is a great one. AMD right here at 100. Also something very, very interesting. Look, here's, and again, like, you know, we're short at 103. There's the cover at $100.63. That's a $2.50 winner, you know, but why do that? I mean, it went back up there. I guess we could have got re-short, so I guess that's really where the question lies, but it's a nice downside move anyways. Like I said, man, it's much more calm, much more relaxed. We know our positions. We've got the strategy that we're trying to do right now, so let's just stay net short, man. We talked about it earlier. We have only short names on here today, so far so good as it just continues to make moves lower. This is kind of what we all expected, I feel like. NASDAQ and S&P both down 8%. Like, wow, that's actually a pretty big move, considering that we're now in, not that it matters that we're in October, but you know, this is supposed to be a buying opportunity here in October. It doesn't look like that yet.
Not yet.
Not early anyways. There was some Fed speak today, obviously helping this move down. And then, you know, a more recent move, we're going to talk about this, I'm assuming, coming up soon, Meta, on the march back up as the year of efficiency continues for them. I guess it's not marching that much, with some recent job cuts announced in the metaverse. So, yeah, so far so good here. Let's go back to the desk and let's start a rundown.
Let's get into Tesla here. Sharif back in the chair. Good to have him. We were discussing Tesla this morning, if you're with us, on the simple fact that there was a ton of analysts' opinion, as there is typically after a company like this comes out with some significant numbers, whether it's earnings or whether it's deliveries. In this case, we get a whole bunch of analyst moves the following day. Mostly in this case, we're negative this morning. There were a couple of notable ones that were either just reiterating their current stance or even to the upside. JP Morgan and Morgan Stanley, those two for the upside for Tesla.
We were talking off camera, JP Morgan with a $130 price target. Our friend Jeremy there has some interesting things to say, but like I said yesterday, I think that the delivery numbers were basically possibly skewed because the Model 3, the revamped Model 3 coming up, and if you were in the market for a Tesla, you may be holding off here to pick up that new model. So we'll see how they do in Q4.
Yeah, not much to do as far as the trade. I mean, it was a bit of a sell-off this morning, guys, but chopping around inside the range right now for Tesla.
Well, there's been a lot of chop on some individual names in the afternoon. I don't think that's terribly surprising. I'm going to apologize in advance for the wick on this chart, but this is holding VWAP. It is down relative to the market. I mean, it's holding out a little bit better than the NASDAQ and about the same as ES. But if you look at it, just hold on to VWAP in here. The volume weighted average price, for those of you that aren't familiar with that indicator, it just feels as if the market, like, I want to be looking for shorts in case we roll back over again. And Tesla, like Apple, could be the one. Like, if it gives it up, like, what are we looking at? Are we looking at 3%? If we give up this support level at what, 248, because there's a gap to like $3 or $4 to the downside from here in Tesla. It just, things can get really nasty if Apple, Tesla, the things that have not been as bad, start looking a heck of a lot worse. So I don't know, if you're not, I wouldn't be entering a trade in this range in particular on Tesla. It's a little bit choppy. You want it breaking out, or you want the top, which is closer to 250. As I said, I've got the shorts on that I like. That, as far as that price target goes, we said it this morning, you're going to have analysts that value Tesla very, as like, compare it to legacy automakers and not really looking at the other things that they bring to the table. And so some of those prices will seem ridiculous, but fair enough to them. I think you'd back up the truck at $130. I think a more reasonable expectation, if we're in the midst of a legit pullback that has some room to go, Tesla, and we've said this before, 200 period moving average is around 208. It's got a previous bottom here at 213 going all the way back into August. That was also a previous top earlier in the year. So I think that's where you could be headed on the short term. Trend back into the downside from this 250 level in the 50 period, could easily pull back in 20%. That would not shock me. I don't think there's anything panicky about that. I would be on, personally, I'd be on the bid down there around the 200 period moving average. I haven't added, I bought once at 222 myself, and I'd probably throw another bid down there in front of the 200 period if we get there.
All right, we're 250 in the money right now on Tesla, and it's been a really, really good trade so far here today, right? We shorted it early at 250, down, 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 down. Nice moves in here into 247, so those were all good trades. And then we lost right there, shorting 248, I think, yeah, 1144. I think we were talking about that on the show. Then we reshorted again up here at 249, 250. I got out there at this 249.50 break, but that was a mistake. So we got back short, so that's why there's that tick there. Then we take $1, and now you're starting to break lower. So, you know, we're 215 in the money, but as Neil said, we've just been hovering around here. I don't want to make the same mistake, but the market's going lower. The thing is like Apple, dollar club, right? Airbnb, almost $4. Amazon is $1.10 in the money right now. Tesla's $2. So I feel like let's just not let that dip down maybe. Maybe we just get out here if it takes VWAP again. I don't know. I don't want to give it up one more time. I mean, that is, where are we short? 249.59. I mean, it's $1 if we take it at 248.30. But then I'm literally giving this up, giving $1 up right now on the trade. Wondering if we just get out of Tesla. I mean, we already have a lot of these shorts. We got Apple short. AMD just broke 100. We probably should have thought about that one as well. Yeah, so right now, I don't know. Maybe Tesla doesn't have the oomph to it to get too much lower. What is that? 247.25. Yeah, okay. I'm just convincing myself here. Let's just get out of some Tesla. Look, if it continues to go down, obviously we will not be pleased. But a nice move. The Dow's now down more than 500 points. You know, Tesla's not necessarily going down too much. Let's take a bid here and get out of Tesla, and then we'll see. We have everything else. Hopefully everything else starts to drop down. But good trade, man. $2 in the money, probably a good sweet spot here.
All right, let's go on to Apple here. Same story. I mean, we're trying to bounce here a little bit. Nvidia trying to bounce as well back to 435. I was just going through this. Number of stocks representing the gain in the Russell 3000 in 2023. I mean, it's basically a very small percentage, let's say, of the overall Russell 3000 that's even positive on the year. Anyways, Apple on watch this morning, we were talking about this App Store story. Again, there was more headlines coming out of China overnight suggesting that Apple has already begun requesting that anything that gets put on the App Store in China, the Apple App Store in China, they have to have a license from the Chinese government to be able to operate in that country. So already seeing some limitations here.
Yeah, I want to see what's going to happen to the VPN apps on that App Store as well, whether they'll get licenses or not. My inkling is that they probably won't. We'll have to wait and see. But this has been in the works for a while. It kind of brings in Apple's App Store in line with the other app stores that are already on there that are complying with this directive. So we'll have to wait and see.
Yeah, red day nevertheless, guys.
Yeah, well, I mean, what doesn't have a red day? Let's be real for a second. But it is an absolute red day. This was a question of patience this morning for Apple. Again, like this was in the morning. I didn't have any positions on the first couple of minutes, and mostly that was because I was waiting around for some key price levels for Apple. Previous close, went over this in the morning show. 173.75 is where we closed. And every now and then it gets up to a price level like that, and it happened to be exact. So it got up there, it tagged that top, and then consolidated underneath. I played it to the pre-market low at 172. That's the level I was working off of to the downside. I held a couple of other names that I thought were weaker, thought Apple would be strong enough to bounce. It did not, and it just continued lower. So Apple, it's been a dog. Not as bad as the overall market, but it continues on its trend of pulling back. A lot further than most of the other big cap tech names on the larger time frame. This is almost at the 200 period moving average. It hasn't quite tagged it yet, but I think if like Apple getting underneath that number is probably going to spook a few people, and probably going to be a tremendous opportunity to maybe pick some up there. Valuation probably has a ways to go to come back in, but these things, a lot of these names are shorts until they're not in terms of what the recent trend has been. You just had to be very, very patient on the open. Kind of a one and done at the open for me, but I'll take that all day, every day. And it's not to be pessimistic, but when you're trading, you've got to be able to look for the short when it's there. And this market has been, generally speaking, a short more often than not the last few sessions.
Look, man, I mean, Apple, we're sitting in a dollar winner. Oh, first of all, we got Tesla out right there for $2 right there. So the diamond hands finally works out a little bit there on Tesla. And then we're trying to do the same thing here for Apple. As like, this is why I'm a little bit sad, because like we had a lot triple, quadruple, all these shorts up there on Apple. Huge move down. It's trying to break lower. We actually hit Apple earlier as well today, all the way down 171.80. That's where we are best out. Did go down to 170 flat. Let's just hold on to Apple. Market down. We talked about this, man. As long as Apple's above 170, we'll still respect that level, but seems like it's going lower. Like I keep saying, man, we're at the highest spot. I can't complain of where we are right now net-wise. We have every trade we have on is pretty big right now, but again, wish we just had more shares. Does Apple break this 171.40? If it does, then I do think we retest, obviously, the downside again. NASDAQ just broke 2% down to the downside, so that's putting it down 8.5% now from its highs or from its last run. I guess that 8.5% I think was, Brendan, what was that 8.5% again? 8% from its recent highs, or is that including September 1st to today? I just don't know. Yeah, from the highs. So Apple continues to make a move down. Apple's high was about 194, 195. So back down to 171. No surprise there as it just continues to make new moves down. So wow. Yeah, the position's getting to be extended now. It just sucks because I know in my long term I have long everything, which is fine. But down there, 124. And we just should have held on to this Amazon as it just keeps on going down. Oh, we'll talk about Airbnb and all that after. So, yep. Hey, just holding shorts here and, stacking up a little bit.
Yeah, it was the July high, going back to, what was this for the Qs? 387, I guess. 388 over here. July 19th, in fact, was the high. So 8.5% to where we are today. Yeah, let's talk Meta. You going to pay $14 a month for Instagram?
I'm not. No. I already know how to get away with the ads. I already gave this little tidbit here on the midday. I'll repeat it now. But if you're watching stories, you watch them in reverse, you forego the ads. Something I picked up a little while ago, Brendo. But yeah, I'm not paying.
Oh, man. Yeah, it seems to be the consensus today, guys.
On a side note, I just throw this out there because I saw someone put this in the chat. SPY 420. That was something that Michael Loss was like, hey, get ready for SPY 420. We're 30 cents away from that, so that's a big one. Meta just had that news. I mean, we'll talk about the more recent thing because let's be real, this is the only thing that is not at the low of the day. That's bouncing nicely off the low of the day. A few things are off the lows, but Meta bounced off 300 when they had that the job cuts there. You're rejecting 302. If this market holds this bottom underneath 14.7, does Meta really have the juice to hold on to this 302 level? I think that's going to be a big tell. It's probably worth the risk to reward to try and grab something if it fails this 302 again. I want to say something. The overall trend of the market has been to the downside. So the 300 trade, that has given you multiple times under, over. The last time was on the bounce of the story with the job cuts there, and now the 302 level looks like a little bit of short-term resistance. If it cannot hold this breakout, which looks like it's imminent, I think you short it on the way back down on Meta because the market's holding that 2%. It's just the trend has been your friend. I don't know if that's a big enough story to have Meta go parabolic this afternoon.
24.80. Yeah, I mean, the year of the efficiencies for Meta continues as we haven't even heard anything about Reality Labs in a long time, and that's going to be what division they're cutting from right now. So, yeah, still bad, still down 1.6. We did have a nice flush down there, whatever the day of MetaQuest was right there, MetaConnect. That's a nice move down. We made it all the way back to 300, and we started to rally again, 310 and change. I love this company. I don't have enough good things to say about Meta and what they would be. Their cash on hand, we talked about $53 billion and about to get more if they start charging. Let's just see where this all goes, man. I mean, I like what they talked about with the MetaQuest. I like the Reality Labs and, whatever you think about social media, it's definitely not going anywhere. So for me, I like Meta down here. I don't know where there's a buy zone for it. I mean, I think any dip down, like 290, 295, you could get there tomorrow. And then if this market really doesn't hold that 14.6, which we've talked about a few times. And I mentioned that this morning, that this was really the next level. Remember, we were on the 60-period chart here, so 60-minute chart. That low rate there of 14.6, 14.600, I think it's 14.609, 14.6. 10, something like that. We've already sort of went back down there just recently in September 28th, 27th there. We tested it and bounced off quite nicely, back up about 500 handles from there. But for right now, man, we're watching out for 14,600 to come into play one more time here for the NASDAQ. So I would still say that you are looking at Meta as a short until we correct ourselves here in the market. So yeah, any kind of a bump up. Probably a 303 is a good little spot right now, but I'm just sitting here watching all these stocks continue to make moves down. Oh, we are out of Apple, by the way. Just real quick, we have a small piece left on Apple. I know we talked about that just last, and I missed talking about where we're getting out right here on this 80 break. So that's the 50-period moving average. We are also doing something very similar on Amazon right now, and I'm going to put an offer right here to get out on this 50. We'll use this little wick higher, 75s. So we're going to get out at 124.75 on Amazon, which gives us that dollar anyways. So we'll see about that. But again, just watching this 50-period moving average, which is why I'm kind of sad that we got out like this all the way down. But there it is, 50-period moving average. At least we held a little bit of it.
Just quickly, I wanted to show this. Again, we have Frank Kaberna coming up in a little while here. We'll get his take on what's happening. This is the 30-year Treasury today. Just an absolute monster move. Even the 30-year almost to 5% now, as these yields continue to march higher. TAP, Molson Coors, still halted. There was another headline that came across there as far as shelf space and light beer market, but I think the big one was they updated their guidance to, if you missed it, lower end, single digits for the current quarter. So TAP still halted as an investor day is underway. Yeah, we were talking Nvidia. On this note this morning, KeyBank maintaining their overweight, going to 750 on the price target.
Yeah, basically the analysts they're saying that the AI data center demand is extremely strong and is outweighed, basically demand outstripping supply by about 20%, Brendo. So even though China's weak right now and the PC market just starting to get its footing, the AI data center wave is still very much alive, and they're looking for a $750 price target.
I was reading during lunchtime as well that they were even meeting with more data center operators to see if there's space available to free up even more capacity for this chip, guys.
Yeah, I mean, sort of, you had to pick and choose. I think this was a little bit a choice that was between Apple for me at the open and Nvidia would have been the better choice. That's easy enough to say here, but you looked at the double top, waited for it to get to that level. Apple came in, and I took that and didn't take Nvidia off 450, and Nvidia would have been the right place to be. Instead, I'm short the other 100 price to earnings ratio chip name. That'd be ARM. I think a lot of times, like, you'll look back in a day, whether it's good or bad. I like to reflect on what can be done better, and you'll see that a lot of times because that's where you're going to improve by, sort of doing better on your winning trades, refining some of your entry points and things like that. And in looking for the home run short that was there the last couple of days in ARM, I was sloppy at the open a couple of times. Like sloppy taking a breakdown trade. Let's go to the 3-minute chart for you guys. Sloppy taking a breakdown trade, stopping out, getting in too early and stopping out the top. Eventually, I got back to the old, actually short a rejection of the high. That worked, and then short the same level, wait for it to get to it. That's what I'm sitting in now. But that eagerness, because everything was working to the short side, to like, oh no, I really like ARM short, and then getting in way too early a couple of times, that can hurt you. So that's what happened to me on ARM. I probably don't get back to green on it because it was pretty sloppy this morning, but it just goes to show, like, you can always look to be better. I think ARM is headed back down into 50. This is where the bottom is. Of the daily chart's not going to tell you much for the recent IPO, but it has double bottomed at 50 even. I actually expected we'd be under this 50 at some point this week. I don't know if that's going to be the case, but most of these IPOs, I think in the next weeks to months, the recent ones I mean, are going to be trading underneath their current support. Card already is. ARM, I think, is headed down there. As far as Nvidia, if you had that 450 short, that was the one this morning. 440 lower high doesn't look that bad. This is on the precipice of rejecting a recent break above this 430. You get a couple of days above, you're right back to it, flat bottom break, and you could be headed down to 400 again on Nvidia, which are reasonable levels on a pullback, which we keep reminding everybody. So I like the ARM minute. By the way, I just got into Met off that 302, so that did test back up here. Just got up up and down a couple of times at that 302 level. The last time, this is a bad dark pool wick, it got down to 301.50. I have 84s in here, going to give it just above that local high. Looking to play this one underneath that 302. If it stops out, understand the market could bounce here, and I'm not going to hold it above that VWAP. I want to play inside the range, and if it breaks down, hold on to a piece for 300, where you also know there is some support on Meta.
All right. Yeah, we only traded. It's too bad because we should have obviously traded Nvidia as well, but we've been short everything all day anyways. Great couple trades there on AMD, right up to the pre-market levels of 103. That's exactly what we've written down. So we like those levels. And again, just upset that we're not more short here on AMD. The only name that we held up, and again, we wrote on here, on our sticky note, we wrote down Micron as well on there, and it got to 69.50. We were going long here on this dip back in off the 200 period. That worked, but it got to 68.75, which I guess would have given us 80 cents. My best out is there at VWAP. We're waiting for a retracement back. I was actually sitting down here because look at the strength. Neil mentioned before, looking for possibly names that could have some strength. I mean, Micron's positive, almost positive here on the day, right? And so that's why we picked that long out of the blue. It's not out of the blue. It's we went long because of the strength, right? It just didn't come in to give us a better average price. So right now, I'm still sitting at 67.20 down here, thinking that that's where we could have gone. So if it does get down there, we will do that coming back in. Why do I always get out of Tesla? I will never know. Now $1 lower than where it was before. But we will. We also have, besides Tesla, we actually shorted Rivian, which wasn't actually a pretty... Awesome. Because it finally came right back into VWAP there, and we shorted it at 22. What am I? Check my blotter here. 22.50, so 52. So we're now 40 cents in the money here on Rivian, as that's still trying to go to the downside as well, breaking through day's lows of 22. So it looks like we've got a nice one here happening. But hey, I still want to talk about Airbnb, so let's go over there and have a look at that.
I was just noting here this daily chart on the SPY for the S&P 500 getting worse by the minute. When we came on, it was 8. Not to harp on this, but it was 8.2%, now 8.5% for the SPY off those highs. So yeah, Airbnb, it was KeyBank as well, pointing directly at you, and I were just talking, pointing directly at what's happening in New York as the problem here for Airbnb.
Yeah, well, look, as shelter inflation continues to rise and more millennials can't find anywhere to live, this is going to happen more and more. Some observers that were watching on the sideline while Airbnb and New York, the city of New York, battled it out in court. 2 lawsuits, by the way, over a period of 3 years. Miami, San Francisco, Los Angeles, all those guys were watching, so possible expectations there. Now, we saw how well they did this year as the consumer shifted spending from goods to services. Airbnb benefited, stocks up 50% year to date, even though it's been declining lately. But I think we may see some reversion in this name soon.
Not a good-looking candle on the daily chart of this one either. It was, yeah, they went from overweight to sector weight here for KeyBank on Airbnb today.
Yeah, so
it's not a good-looking candle.
No, we were aware of that candle early, and here it is right here on our sticky note at 8 o'clock. Airbnb 131 break, right? We talked about it. It's right here, 131 new regulation break downside. Sharif just covered it, obviously quite well. So let's just see how we traded it, right? And this is the worst for me because there's the 131 break. We were dead right about the break, but timing. It took our lunch a little bit there because then it came back up and broke that VWAP again. So, you know, we have when there's a gap, look at VWAP. Shout out to Brian Shannon for that one. So once we took it again, we got out because, you know, Airbnb had gapped down 2 or 3% to begin the day. Then there's that trade, but we didn't get out of it all. We did hold a small piece, which is now, of course, $4 in the money, but it doesn't matter. Like we only had, I think we had like 200 shares or something there. That would have been nice to still hold them all. But we did get stopped out, so we still have a small piece. So yeah, woe is me, right? But the thing is that right here, 131, there's the take. We were waiting for this to break. We were long Airbnb before down here off this break, 110 on that break. We didn't get anything out up here, but we got it out in this last move up. We still are holding a small piece, but that little break back down below is nice. So I like those breaks. I'm here for that every single day. Let's just keep on looking for those. News plus break means down or up, depends on which way. But right there for today, you also get some help from the market, right? So let's not act like this is a lone Airbnb. But hey, down $4. It's a nice move, down 6%. I feel like you wait for these kind of days. So needless to say, I'm a little bit sad about not being able to hold on to that. But we got stopped out. That's what VWAP's all about, and this is what we're doing. So, yeah, you want to talk about some travel.
Yeah, I want to talk travel too, but thank you, Derek, for also answering this question that Randy was asking. Like, how do you know stocks will bounce off VWAP or not? Like, what's going to happen when a stock gets VWAP? You don't know exactly. You just know it's an interesting decision point based on the nature of what it is, and then you try to make your best guess. Sometimes you decide to go with the trend, that it'll get there and it'll reverse, and other times you think there'll be strength because of an overall trend on the daily or maybe a catalyst. It's just an area of interest, and in trading, that's what you're trying to do. You're trying to make decisions around areas of interest, and then try to get the right direction. But if anybody knew anything 100% in the future, then well, first of all, tell me, and then I'll know what to do if you like betting on sports or whatever. But secondly, at that point, you're deluding yourself. Nobody can predict the future. All you can do is make your best guess based on the data in front of you and the patterns that you observe. And that's all a trader is ever going to do. I am in CCL. I was not in it early. Now, obviously, you can look at this bad boy breaking down this morning, and it was wild, down 6%. It took out about 1330, which was a local bottom here, and just quadunked. Oftentimes, if you miss the early move, what can you do? Try to join the trend. We mentioned this one in Lunch Money at the 13. When it was to the downside, there was one little check up there at about $13 really early at 10 o'clock. It got back into that range. I was in it on the front side, which means I was getting short into the level, which I don't always love doing. Sometimes you want to wait for the selling to come into the resistance zone. It ends up happening, and then we got to 13, like literally $12.99 to the short side on CCL. The bottom that it has here at 1260 is significant because this is also the 200-period moving average. So this is like a target out. Like if I see that low again, I'm out. It's bouncing off the 200-period moving average after just rejecting underneath 15 the other day. So if I see 1260 again, I'm getting out of that one. The travel names, almost every single sector has been to the downside as a whole. So this one is not spared. And if anything, these names have actually been worse today more than anything else. Let's go back to the desk and handle some business.
Rundown, as always, guys, brought to you by our friends over at Trade Ideas. Real-time scanning and alerting used by everyone you see on the show and mostly on the floor. See what's moving in the moment with Trade Ideas. Check the link in the description. Wink, wink, nudge, nudge. It's wrong right now. And you may or may not be able to get 30% off when it should be 20. But Trader TV 20 gets you 20% off.
It's 30 right now? Okay, so then
That's a deal.
How dare you use Trader TV 20?
Don't be a sucker. Use Trader TV 30. Like nobody wants to. Come on, you got to get that extra.
Nobody wants to pay 10 extra percent.
Principal is priceless.
Well, obviously.
0.5%.
No one wants to
0.1%. Ain't nobody got time for that.
We got out of our Amazon because I don't got time for that right now. So Amazon right there will put that dollar in our pocket. We got out at the 50 period. Breaker 19. Micron upside as well. Tesla looking still like it wants to go to the downside, and we are looking for some more trades. A very, very interesting development here in Meta. I mean, it just is bouncing off VWAP over and over and over again. And this might be the break long. I mean,
if it takes out tens, yeah.
If there's news there, which there is, but it doesn't seem to matter that much right now. It still is following the futures, man. I mean, when the futures look like this, coming back up, breaking the 50 period, looking like it wants to go but not. I mean, that's basically what happened to Meta here. Breaks the 50 period, looking like it wants to go up but isn't. So right now, 302 and change. I think I like this long. So if we can break above it, VWAP is great. And again, it just goes back to that question that Neil answered there. It's like everything is great until it's not. I mean, either way, if there was a magical way to trade every single day, then you would just do that. And I know sometimes it feels like it. We talk about when you're on one, and I think we might be on that right now. But the thing is like, I'm going against myself right now because the market's going to be down 2%, and we do have. I mean, the trade I'd be looking for would be breaking long. I don't know about breaking short. So we'll talk about that. And, you'll see something flow through there. Like I'll either go short. I'm not sure. I think I might
want
want to go. OCEA right now
Yeah.
got halted
It's
and
open.
is now open. So OCEA now halted on some amendment. I don't know exactly the story with amendment to an existing agreement with a financing partner. So go in, find out all about that. But I don't know, amendment to financing could be good or bad.
Well, it was
But it looks
rinsed
like
all
it's-
day, so like it's
Yeah, it looks like it's good right now. So there goes OCEA. Look out, man. That top is 4. Not top, but you know that bottom there that we sort of topped out at there. 4. The 50 period is 430. I mean, if we get to $4, that'd be nice, man. It's a buck right from here. So watch out for $4 if we get there. It doesn't look like there's much steam to this right now. Even a short, yeah, there we go. So there are some. Okay, good, got hit. I was gonna say there is some action there on the offer. I would say look out for $3. Worth it probably here, man. You take this short. If it retraces back to 250, you gold. If not, you get out at $3. It's looking like a good trade here on OCEA.
Yeah, that's a wild one. I mean, this stock was at
I gotta pay for
470 in
shorts,
the
I would
pre-market.
imagine,
I'm going to assume.
Yep, I
you
just
should
tried.
never assume, but I was about to say I'm going to assume that they're free.
I literally
not
just
free,
tried.
not free. Like it's anything this illiquid. Most times, if it's halting and it's a low, like a low flow, to day trade the world, we have free locates on just about everything. But something like this, I think you expect to pay them. I'll say 2 cents a share is my guess. 2.5 cents a share, maybe 3 cents a share. So I was able to get in and out of the range once on Meta. Let's see if we can do it again. I'm still holding on to a piece, but if it breaks 302, 302.10 is a local high. If it breaks that, I want to get out of it. I'm not necessarily reversing into the long, but it's not. It really doesn't look that bad. It's got the news catalyst for it. We're able to get some down at the bottom end of the range in front of 301.30, as we mentioned. But if this takes out the top, you don't want to fight it. As I'm mentioning that, CCL, which I'm in, is catching a bit of a bid. So it may not get down to that 1265, which is a 200 period. I don't want this getting all the way back into the top. There was a little bit of a bounce here where it jumped off at 1285. I am now trailing this past that level. If I get out, then I think it makes a lot of sense. This is a significant bounce off a major level on the higher time frame. And on top of that, it would be a bit of a higher low as well off of that low. So I just got in and out once a Meta, and now I'm out of it. I'm not reversing into the long. I'm just covering at that 302.10. Gave it a little bit above that 302 because the last time it broke, it got to 10, so it was that simple. The first time it broke 302, it got to 302.10. So when I short that, I give it to 302.10, and that was going to be my out every single time. Not really there that I want to grab the long, but the market's back above 14.7. It's at the point where we should be looking for some. You want to look for some opportunities long. Oh goodness, this could be a cover here. Affirm just flat bottom broke as the market is bouncing. This is exactly the kind of move that can get into a liquidity grab. I'm going to throw a bid in front of. Yeah. So this is the flat bottom break, 18.4, kind of a local one. I'm throwing a bid at 18, and I'm not letting it back above 18.40. If you're watching the morning show, it was a 20 short, and then off VWAP, it was a 19 short. Not exactly rocket science with Affirm, which, by the way, this is another one. We always talk about you got to take profit. If you got greedy, and Mr. Noss, Michael Noss mentioned the 21 long into 23 the other day on Affirm. Well, sometimes you just don't want to look a gift horse in the mouth. It broke 21. If you didn't sell when it got to 22.5 into that target, you're rinsed, and then you're bag holding this name because Affirm is down 10.5% and still flushing as the market is trying to make a bounce. $18 is the target out there, but I'm now trailing underneath that flat bottom, 18.40.
So I just want to go over quickly what I did there on Meta before we get to Frank, but it's still a couple minutes before that. So we went short 302 and lost 20 cents. So we lost 22 cents or something with slippage. Then we just went short again and just took back that 20 cents by getting out at 75. And now it's trying to, okay, well, here it comes back down into 75. So let's just try to hold to see where we're going to go. But I mean, like we just mentioned, I don't know, maybe we'll get out of something else here again. See if we'll put a 78 bid there. See if we get filled now. There it is. Okay, let's go. All right, so after all of that, Meta right now may be good. So right now we're going to hold it. We are now nicely in the money. Let's get something out at 51 or 52 here on a downside push. So again, you know, we lost 25 cents. We're now 23 cents, sorry. Now we are 28 cents in the money. But anyways, just a little bit of a back and forth there with Meta. I just wanted to talk about that quickly because we did get back in. I feel like a lot of our stops got ran there. So we'll put a little bit of money back in our pocket right now. Look, we can get out right now for flat on all of this, but let's see if it continues to go down. We wanted to be net short no matter what today into this close, and we will be. I don't have any, the only long I have is 25 cents right now on Micron. But again, thinking that if the market's going to blast, Micron is too. So I'm going to get out of Micron, probably up here if we can get it. That would be pretty sweet. But for right now, new position entered. It's Meta. We're short here at 93s. Again, you know, you take the bid, you get 20 cents. If you like that, that was the loss. Let's see if we can get back down in here into the 50s. So that, you know, every single time, just like 02's been a top, you know, the bottom's been here too at 40. So it's not like this is going to be a banger trade one way or the other. So let's just see. If the market tanks, we know Meta will. If the market rips, we have a very, very defined out right there. So I like this trade. These are the kind of trades that we want to be in more often. So we're in one right now with Meta. Bid at 50s to take 50 cents. So that'd be great. 2 to 1. Then we'll hold for the dream, right? Back down to 3 bills. Let's see if that happens.
Oh, go ahead.
That's it. I'm done.
I just noticed maybe this might be a missed opportunity already. Ford bounced off 12 just a couple of minutes ago, or a few minutes ago, I should say, because this is a 15-minute chart. So this is actually just before we came back on it, too. I haven't looked at Ford in a hot minute. I do think, obviously, you can see what's happening. When this stock gets above 1250, like, look at the opportunity to short it every single time. It's been heading down. It's more of a psychological round number than anything else because the real support on Ford's at $11. I'm getting that out of the way. But if you're looking for, like, scalp trades, day trades, a $12 hold does look at least a little bit interesting. As I did mention, I'm trailing a couple of things out here because when the market ticked up, it was a weird liquidity grab on Affirm there. Oh, and I do want to get back over to that OCEA. Very quickly. Someone said, it's going. It's actually back. It got back underneath the Hall price. A lot of times, if something's doing like a dead cat bounce and it's going to go to the upside, you want it above that first Hall price. When it gives that up, that's pretty bearish. Like, if that's a big relief rally that it could not sustain holding above, unless it's above 270, which was, I think it's 269 or 270 where it halted. Maybe it was 71, doesn't matter. I don't want anything looking for that relief rally unless it's above that first initial halt price. Underneath there, you could be right back into those lows. Again, like I'm not reading the story with that financing deal real time to be able to tell you exactly what's going on here. You want to take your cue from the market and join the momentum. And unfortunately, under the halt price, the momentum is kind of abating to the other way.
So big move up here in NVAX. If anybody's watching it, they're getting an amendment and an FDA recommendation for their use of Novavax COVID-19 vaccine. Included in it's a new formula. That's about it. From what I can see, there's more to it. So if you guys want to read it, there is more to this. But there is the spike right there on NVAX. NVAX also with a big short flow, B-Dog.
Just quickly on that, it's the first and only, apparently, protein-based vaccine, not mRNA vaccine that's been approved, guys.
Okay, so a new style there, protein-based vaccine. Okay, well, I guess if you don't believe in the mRNA technology, I mean, I don't know enough about all of this.
I don't either. I just know a lot of people don't.
Is it?
A lot of people don't like. Well, what's the right way to say it? A lot of people don't trust the mRNA. Is that fair?
Well, that's what I was going to say. I don't know what the health reasons would be behind either one of these, but
45% short flow.
That's I know the trading reason. I don't know. But the thing is, look, whenever you get FDA approval, it's always a good sign because then you can, I guess, get funding from. Here would be OHIP, and I guess in the States you have different, Medicaid and all that kind of stuff that would then be approving all this. So again, not my cup of tea as far as understanding all of that, but it's a nice move up. I mean, you have the 50 period here at $8. I have it up in case it goes into a halt state. I'm kind of surprised it didn't. 680 up to 750 there. I guess it just took too long to make the move up, but almost got halted, I guess, almost. I feel like that was basically, that was 7. I mean, I guess if you take the bottom 7, it needs to go 70 cents. It went 55 cents. So, okay, if you see me in that one, it's because it's halted. So let's wait for NVAX. If I can catch a halt, great. But seems like the news is maybe over and done with. What everybody's been waiting for, though, is, hey, look, man, we've seen the yields. We've seen everything going nuts over the last 6 months.
What the hell do we do, Frank?
There's only one man. You know what the thing is like, you know how it works with Batman, how like when there's crime and everything in the city, you know, you shine the light? So it's just
signal.
like, we just go Frank, Frank, Frank. So if you see in the Toronto, you see like Frank in the clouds, it's because we're calling for Frank. And look at that, we have him here right now.
What?
So let's go over to the desk with Frank. Frank, explain things to us, man.
Wasn't planned at all. Yes, an absolute, don't mind that. There's stuff falling over, but it's fine. An absolutely busy day as far as not only interest rates, the US dollar 2007 levels coming into play here once again today across the board. I just saw the 30-year almost at 5%. Please, Frank, tell us what is going on here today.
Yeah, absolute craziness being set off by, from what I can tell, interest rates being the top line item here, especially after the hotter than expected JOLTS job opening this morning. But I mean, all hell was breaking loose before that. And yeah, let's dip into the interest rate story a little bit, because it really feels like the market feeling out these extremes for the 10-year, and to your point, 30-year as well. The market digesting these historical extremes is really setting off a chain reaction amongst stocks, commodities, so many different markets. But yeah, here's what's going on. You have the 10-year above 4.5%, and Brendan, it's not only above there, it's absolutely annihilating 4.5%, looking like it might get close to 5% by the end of the week, at least at this rate. It's another 10 basis points higher today. And so I haven't even updated this chart for today's movement. It's 10 basis points higher than here as we near, 4.8%. And to your point, extremes not seen since 2007. And I wanted to do a little case study and look at what the market looked like last time rates were this high. But yeah, before even getting to that, just understanding the pace at which interest rates have been ripping higher over the course of the last couple of days, but also the course of the last year or so, 4 percentage points from the pandemic lows of about 0.5%. We were at 0.5% 10-year yield in 2020. And not only were we there, Brendan, we were there for the majority of the year, pretty much since from March until the end of the year, under 1% for the 10-year. Fast forward, it's not even the end of 2023, and we're eyeing 5%, which are levels that we haven't seen since the mid-aughts. It's absolute crazy, violent move. And it's really sending stocks and everything into a tizzy. Now, the question becomes, is it actually bad for stocks? Is this going to cause a stock market crash, this violent move to the upside? And I'm of the thinking that no, of course, anything can happen, but you go back to the 04 to 07 range. Last time we saw interest rates there in blue in the 4 to 6% range. And this was a pretty prolific time for the S&P 500. In that range, averaged up 7% on an annual basis from the start of 04 to 07, up over 30% in that range. So this does not have to be bad for stocks. And what I always tell people who jump online and try to make these, crazy bombastic statements, alarmist statements of like, oh, since rates are this high, it's going to send the stock market tumbling. Yes, we're seeing some stock market turbulence, but if rates were moving high at a pace that would send the stock market into crash mode, one, we would already be there. But two, interest rates would be moving lower in anticipation of the central bank cutting. So this to me feels still like growing pains, still like feeling out a new interest rate environment. I mean, did you and I think that new interest rate environment was 3 to 4% a year ago? Yeah, sure. It's looking more like 4 to 5%. The S&P didn't price that in quite well, Brendan. That's why we're seeing some downside and some fear here. But it still feels to me like general growing pains, at least in terms of equities, there are some other moving pieces that are feeling a little bit more extreme at the moment. But equities still, to me, until we see, a significant downside move and we see short-term interest rates maybe back off to 5% or 4% or even lower, the market, I don't think, is quite pricing in a crash, so to speak, Brennan.
Yeah, and I want to go back to that slide that we've looked at a couple of times, including last week when you were on, essentially highlighting the fact that, because one of the things this is doing is unwinding the inversion that we've seen. I saw today we're back to March levels on the yield curve inversion as of today with this move in the 10-year. So one of the things we highlighted in that chart was the simple fact that it's after we see that inversion right itself that we get that move down typically in stocks, which aligns with that chart that we just saw. But I mean, as you were saying, very different market in a very different time, very different conditions, obviously, but we are starting to see that same thing happening here.
And in my mind, the inversion that's now normalizing, and yeah, we have a chart of the inversion and what that's looked like, and you can see how violent that move has been from being inverted 100 basis points to, as of yesterday's close, inverted by just 40 basis points. And the 10-year actually, again, I wasn't able to update this because the U.S. Treasury updates yields as a function of the close. And 10 years right now are set to gain another 10 basis points on 2 years. So it's not even just those March and April levels, Brendan. We'll get back to that 30 to 25 basis point range, which we haven't seen since before the huge inflation fears that we saw in the fall of 2022. So normalizing at a rapid pace. And to me, this is a positive. This is actually a silver lining of all the wackiness that we've seen. Because to your point, the question has been, will this yield curve normalize in a fashion that allows for the stock market to have this soft landing? Inflation rose, short-term interest rates rose, we went inverted. Now we're trying to normalize that yield curve. Fed Chair Powell wants that soft landing. And we haven't seen in the last 30 years a yield curve inversion normalize the way that it is normalizing right now. Long-term rates rising to meet those short-term rates that rose so quickly in 2022. The problem to me would be what you would see that coincides with a normalizing yield curve and a stock market crash would be those short-term rates getting absolutely slammed. Short-term rates have been unchanged for the most part over the course of the last several trading days. It's just this 10-year and 30-year that's finally starting to buy into a higher interest rate market for longer. Is that making waves in the stock market? Yeah, absolutely. It's making waves in the stock market. There's a ton of developing stories in there. But like I say, this, for the most part, from what I can tell, feels like relatively healthy interest rate. It's better than the alternative, right? Which is such poor economic data in the US that rates crash. And I would expect stocks to start to crash with it. That's what they're seeing, in China and parts of the Euro area and Australia is now their interest rate markets moving lower. And that's not spurring on stocks. They're moving lower because those places are witnessing deflation now, economic slowdowns. So again, better than the alternative. Yes, the JOLTS job opening number this morning was still pretty hot. Has inflation fears in the US still in play? We'll see what happens with non-farm on Friday, but to me, this feels like some relatively healthy back and forth.
All right, I want to get to what happened with the Japanese yen today because very volatile to say the least. There was rumblings of, and I mean, I haven't seen anything confirming the fact. I mean, I think the Japanese government or the Bank of Japan came out and said they have no idea what anyone's talking about, but there was clearly something happening with the yen and the USD today.
Yeah, absolutely crazy move in dollar yen today. And the level has been 150. You'll maybe remember that last year, the 150 level was hit and closed above for exactly 1 day. And so not even a full, 48-hour session of dollar yen being above that level, touched that this morning right after that JOLTS job opening number, and immediately you saw a knee-jerk reaction. I believe it was 5 minutes after 10 a.m. Eastern that dollar yen was trading above 150. The next 5 minutes, Brendan, that market got hit for 300 pips, an absolute insane move. Now, is it the BOJ intervening? That has not been confirmed quite yet, but if it was or it wasn't, obviously someone out there thought that that 150 level was not going to hold. Maybe it was traders getting ahead of potential intervention. But I mean, you very rarely see a 200 to 300 pip move organically, so to speak. So I'm not going to put my tinfoil hat on quite yet, but it'll be really interesting to see what the Bank of Japan says over the course of the next 24 hours, because yeah, that was a wild move. And yeah, that was the 30-year low in yen that has, like I said, only been hit for a 24 to 48 hour period in the last couple of years. And they couldn't even hold it for more than 5-10 minutes here this morning. It'll be interesting to see how that story develops. But what'll be more interesting is to see if traders take that market over, even if the Bank of Japan did or didn't intervene. The question moving forward is, can the market hold 150 and above? Are we getting into further extreme territory, or similar to last year? Is this the start of some reversion? Because that dollar yen market hit 150 for one day last year, came all the way screaming back to 130. So really interesting price action this morning in that yen, and it'll definitely be moving around over the course of the next couple of days and weeks.
Yeah, I highlighted when we came back on here at 2 o'clock, I highlighted the movement in the dollar around that time as well, because there was significant volatility in the DXY, not necessarily the pair, but the DXY around that time as well, seeing as how something was happening at that time. So yeah, we'll see how it plays out. I want to get your thoughts here to wrap things up on what's to come. You touched on it briefly there, but not only Friday with non-farm payrolls, we get this ADP private print tomorrow. Before we even come on, it's at 8:15, I believe, tomorrow morning market time, and then NFP on Friday. If we had such a move today, just based off this JOLTS, it's a job listings number, what can we expect here?
Yeah, it seems like they're pricing in the over on that non-farm. I believe it's expected around 160 to 180. And so even if you get, 180 to 200, it seems like the market's kind of priced that in already. Again, this has been the theme for you and me the last handful of economic data points. It's going to be a nimble balancing act, because too slow, if it for whatever reason comes in at like 120, 130, then you might get the bears coming out saying, hey, we're going the way of Australia and China and Europe here in the US. And so really looking for a moderate under, so to speak, maybe like a 150, 160, 170 print. And I think the market might digest something like that really well. On the flip side, if they blow this number out and it's more than 200, it's starting to uptick again, then you might see rates take on a new level. And now the 10-year is eyeing that 5% number, hasn't been seen in well over a decade. You got to wonder if a hot non-farm number on Friday is enough to bring it up to that level. Because yeah, at this pace, I mean, we've now normalized 10 basis point days in the 10-year, and you go back to the stretch of essentially 2010 until the pandemic, and you wouldn't get 10 basis points in a week or month sometimes. At this pace, anything on the table for that 10-year, and it seems like every 5-10 basis points it puts into the upside is worth a percentage point or two to the downside in the S&P and NASDAQ. So hopefully not that hot of a number, hoping for an inline or slight under if you are holding stocks to the long side there, because it'll be a nimble balancing act. It looks like everybody's looking for that over hopefully it comes in line.
Yeah, it was, for anyone that missed it, it was a significant over this morning on that JOLTS number. If you missed it, I think it was better part of 1 million more than was expected across the board, which is obviously huge. So, I mean, 10, 20, 50,000 even we've seen, and the market kind of shrugs it off. But, 1 million to the upside was definitely not expected. Great stuff. We'll touch on that and tee it up a little bit more on Thursday. Once again, Frank Kaberna, Director of Strategy over at IG.com in Chicago. Good to see you as always.
Thanks, Brennan.
Thanks as always, Frank. So if not in line on Friday, get yourself a Cybertruck, pull out the old Jenny, and be ready for the zombie apocalypse, is what I gathered from that.
I think that's exactly what he said.
I'm obviously kidding about that, but it is important because in this market, today's been pretty volatile. I mean, with volatility heading down just a little bit, you look for those catalysts to get the outsized kind of moves, and everyone's a little bit fearful, like what's the next shoe to drop? And the way yields are going, it's people keep thinking that you're going to find a bottom in bonds, and it's not happening just yet. You chase that bottom, you've been in trouble. When I get to Novavax here very quickly, so it broke 8. I was in it at 8:01, and then instantly, like it broke 8. I think it goes right away or it doesn't work at all. I got out at 99, and then I remembered, okay, give it a couple of chances. It's a big level on the daily. You can kind of see breaking the 50 period, but also the local high here is at about just above 810. So I'm going to go for it above and a break of 810 as well and just take a second shot. Novavax, 45% short float. We can brush you guys the story. It didn't do any kind of a huge dip that I think would have been down into 750, take a shot at it in there just from a risk to reward standpoint if it gets back to the high. There was never any of that since the news came. So I will look to take just a pure momentum break. It's the 45% short float that has that's piquing my interest. From there, it was also, arms on the NASDAQ. I don't know why I just instinctively, for this one, pull up the ES. The market started curling. I reloaded ARM underneath here at 57.70. It just got some out of view up. I still had some from 52, but that is heading back into the downside. And I trailed out of CCL. So I didn't like, there we go. CCL, sometimes you put a trail out in there. It wasn't moving the most, but sometimes you put that trail and it's at the key price level and it ends up being a curl. So I add back into ARM, should have been adding back into CCL. I feel as if the way this market's heading downside, I'm going to regret covering this because it might get to the low of the day. And then the last one, Affirm, is pretty darn close. It tried to break back to the upside. Now it looks like it's headed for that 18 level. Affirm, just an absolute dog here today. If something's going to run to the high and break highs, I'm thinking Novavax has a pretty good chance here. And that's just on news, 45% short float. Nothing that's been moving in the markets or that's following the markets has shown too much of a bid, despite the fact the futures have made a bottom here. Google looks pretty interesting. Like maybe that can catch a little bit of a bid here. I don't know if your upside's better than a Novavax. It's trying to get to VWAP itself. Like higher lows on Google, that's not that bad.
All right. No, thanks again for Frank coming through. It should be an interesting report coming. That he's the best. And if you're looking for anything or you're just joining us late and you want to hear about some macro, just rewind it 20 minutes and you'll get everything you need. If you're looking for trades, though, join me after market recap show. I think we'll be pretty busy tonight. But right here, 301, that was a good trade. So there it is right there, 302 short. You can see we have 301.92. We got out at 301.05 right there on the way down, and we'll hold the small pieces. This is coming back in as well. So make sure you do check that out tonight. We're getting a little nervous because it's only an hour 35 right now until Blue Jays' first pitch. We'll see how that goes down. Gosman today going, so that should be good. And then we talked about Barrios or Bassett tomorrow, so we'll see. Hopefully it doesn't, it will get to that, but hopefully it won't matter immediately tomorrow. Okay, so what are we looking at? It's just really, I got that meta on. Rivian took $22. So see you later. We still got a quarter of this, which is not, 20% of this, which is nice. Not as nice as when I thought we had a quarter. But there it is, man. This is almost $1. We'll see if it gets there. It doesn't have to be $1. We took it off VWAP there. And actually, it was a late take by me because we didn't even notice it was at VWAP. I was just hanging out, saw the scanner, said it was there. It had already broken through. And I was saying, I'm already looking for a short. Rivian's down already today. So the logic behind this trade was really, maybe I'll zoom in and just show you guys. You know, like we're doing really well. We've got a lot of trades on and it's all good. It's just like, you know, the risk to reward on this, like this was my out and I could see my stop right now. You know, the out was actually a little bit higher than the 66. So when we went short 52, we were playing off that wick there. So we'll give ourselves about 52, 66, let's call it with slippage, 15 cents, something like that, worth of risk. So that's why that first take there is at 45. So that's not even, that's a dime, not even. Then you start to get 1-to-1 at 40s and a little bit better into that past support rate there. Then when we come back in, we wind up taking 26s. So now you're at a 2-to-1, maybe a little bit higher than that. No real reason except for the fact that it's ahead of 25. We felt pretty good about it because it bounced back up to the 200. And then it just, I was like, we're going to hold. We wanted to wait for 22, which was that bottom anyways. So when that came, we could have got out, but now we're watching it continue to bleed to the downside. It's Rivian, way below its days low right now and going lower. Everything I have on board is going lower. We're at Airbnb is at the lows of the day right now as well, and that is cranking. So this is not $1. It's not actually $2. It's not $3 in the money. It's $4 right now. So we'll see where that's going. But you know what? Again, the 50 period really hasn't done much here. So I'm going to get out, man, if we take this out. Like 128, just into here. I feel like it's a good trade already. 128.25 in case we get a rally back here into the close. Actually, let's just use the 50 period now, 128.40. So if it takes out 128.40, let's get out. We can expand this as much as we want. I've already looked at this. I don't have any outs because we haven't been down here in forever. So we've already broken below, like if this was hanging around 129.50, maybe, but now that you're down here, you just kind of think about like this kind of a level here, 128.55, okay. But anyways, we're in the same zone. So let's put a stop. My current stop, I've already canceled it. It was way up. So here we go. Now breaking even lower on this name right here. There goes Airbnb. 128.40 or be our stop. We're short at 132. So good trade alert here. Things have kind of slowed down for me, to be honest with you. I said we would probably look back and hate ourselves again for getting out of Tesla. So they were out of Tesla at 247 as it hits 246. We made the same mistake right here, not taking out that, or no, sorry. Yeah, it was, not taking out that bottom. We should have got out there. We had to average it back in and got out there. Now our last trade on Tesla, should still be on board, but wow, Tesla cranking lower and lower. Look, our net's at the highest spot it's been at all day. Hard to complain. There goes Meta, by the way. Meta right now, we talked about that. It's trying to join a dollar club as we speak. Down there's Meta right now, $1 in the money. So yeah, the market, Neil, I don't think it goes 3%, but you're down 2 right now.
2.5 is, it seems
bad.
like it's possible if it can take out this, but it can't take out this bottom. And get to the futures in a quick second. I just canceled my breakout for Novavax because it's pulling back off that 8. Maybe it can still happen. I'm a little bit, I'm thinking it's not going to anymore. But ARM, we just got back into that 51.75, and then at 70s again, just underneath 70s. It just broke VWAP, got into previous support at 51.25, took a couple legs out, one in front of VWAP, one in front of previous support. I'm now trailing Affirm out. I'm on the bid at 18.05. Don't know why twice. Already had that bid out there. I'm now trailing this at the bottom.
What just happened to Meta?
This has been, in terms of Affirm, it is 20 to 19. It is 19 to 18, and then I'm getting out. It's that simple. Like, this has been, every single dollar level has been significant on the way down. I don't think Affirm gets to $15 today. I do think Affirm gets to $15 before the end of the month or sometime in the next couple of weeks. Like, this kind of a move, I think, resolves itself to 15. Look short until it gets there. They've been a bit of a dog since that false breakout, which was a good break at 21. But the market just gave up 14.7. Like, it tried to get back above 14.7. This is a 60-minute. It's been trying to wick above, and it just rejected that. If we take out this low, there's a few points of room to the downside. You got 100 points to last week's lows to the downside here in the future. So if that happens, that's where you can get that extension. At the same time, it is 310. We're already 2% to the downside. I think you want to pay some things out. I have a trailing, as I mentioned, I already have a trailing stop on Affirm. And when it comes to ARM, I've already taken a couple legs out. Make sure you ring the register. It's generally pretty rare 2% turns into 2.5%, 3%. It can happen, but we are at some pretty decent support, which has already bounced once in the overall futures. As I mentioned with Novavax, it just started to slow down, but maybe it's not done yet. I just saw it give up this 8. I'm like, okay, canceled the breakout, and then it just dipped into 780. So it really didn't pull back all that far. If it had been a huge pullback that snapped to 750, maybe go for the long there. But this could still be a higher consolidation for that breakout. I'm going to throw that back in there because that did not fail the way I thought. I saw it turn off 8, saw the start of that candle and said, yeah, whatever, it's going to be down 30 or 40 cents. It just pulled back 15 to 20 cents and is already holding higher. So Novavax might not be done yet. We'll see.
Yeah, I mean, bills to pay today paid. Meta just, like, I don't know. And I just tweeted it out. I was like, look, for some reason, Meta was hanging out around VWAP. It gave one trade, blew it out, didn't scare me, didn't continue, broke back VWAP again. So on a fail break, I'll try to take that 10 times out of 10. It's hard to do because we've done it before and been stubborn about it and, just kept fighting. But the thing about it is today's a much different beast because of the direction of the market. So we knew we wanted to stay short, and that's exactly what we did. Thank you, Tater Tot, for that. Very, very kind of you in the chat. But yeah, there it goes, man. So we'll take that out at $300.50. And we just sat there again, kind of like, we talk about this all the time. Neil uses 22. We all use like certain numbers that we like. I like to think of like hockey players like ADA, Lindros, and things like that, put out orders. But the one thing that remains true, and I used to teach this to all the traders that I've taught, is that I like the quarters, the 50s, the O's, right? And so they used to be like optionable levels, but nowadays, options basically, a 0-day expiry. It's not really going to matter too much about the quarters or things like that. But wow, there goes Meta. Like, we're going to be $2 in the money on this one soon. We're $4.50 now in the money on Airbnb. We're $1 in the money on Apple. We're almost $1 in the money on Rivian. $1.70 right now on Meta. And again, so what I was talking about that was just a 50 print because I thought we could get into here. That's 300 bottom. So it's like, even right now, I'd probably be like, let me just get out right here because I wouldn't be trusting this 300 bottom break. So we still have a piece on, which is nice in case it does do that damage to the bottom. But once again, man, we battle back. Not battle back. I mean, we weren't. Well, we might have been down at one point today, probably early we were. But it seems like it's been green sales here as we go. But there's Meta. And I just say this over and over and over again. It doesn't take, thank you, Daryl, for that as well. In the chat, Daryl, good friend of the family here. But again, huge move to the downside. There goes Meta. Let's just see if it holds it, man. Like, I don't know what it was doing up there. We got the news about job cuts, but that's a good thing for Meta. Just not going to be able to hold the market, right? So there it goes, now down 2% and a bit as that keeps on going. Airbnb, of course, the story just continues on that. I put my stop now at 128.20, but honestly, guys, like, this is $4.50 in the money right now, so probably worth taking and just get it out here into the close. Remember, we do have those closing imbalances coming through. Let's have just a quick look. It's not going to matter. Sell. There, Kenview. These are just brokers. Again, we don't like to look at ARCA. This might be halted. CDAQ, I don't know if it's halted or not. But after that, TD Bank with a big sell. We've seen some Canadian banks with sells recently on here, but they're all bank related right now. TD, Royal, WFC. How much are we even down today on these banks? We're not down 6 on WFC. 2, okay, that makes sense. BAC
6.
broke 27, and see you later. We talked about that. We will talk about this on our market recap show. I tweeted it out, and Ramin already showed it on the midday show for some content, which is great. Warren Buffett's holdings, BAC's number 2. That's a big sell. You can see how BAC's really gotten its ass kicked, butt kicked, since breaking through $30, man. It really hasn't had a green day since then. Palantir, sad day for them as well. We were just talking about Palantir at $16.50 the other day. Now you're down to 14 and change. It's amazing. The market goes up and the market goes down, and it's just like every day there's some huge moves. Like Palantir, like 7% down. It's like, wow, some of these stocks, there's not much underneath these hoods, man. And it's like once it starts to go, it really starts to go.
I mean, the list of names, like this is just my quote board. Mara 15%, Affirm 12%, Rivian 8, SoFi 8, Klaviyo, wow, 7%, Peloton 7%, Palantir 6.5%, CCL 6%, CGC, we haven't even talked about Wheat 6%, Beyond Meat 6%, DraftKings 4.5%, like this Marvell 4.5% to the downside. Like I know some of the chip names are having a bad day. I didn't realize Marvell was having that bad a day when Nvidia is only down 2.8%. SMCI, that's not even on. SMCI is not on my watch. 7% to the downside. We were talking about that one yesterday. Speaking of things that are down, one of the worst ones on my board. Affirm just hit the 18. I'm out. 20 to 19 to 18. Bye bye. This stock it's an absolute gong show. But I mean, I didn't realize SoFi was already at essentially $7, but we're here, more or less, down 8% on the day. This is that 200 period moving average we were talking about. Yeah, SoFi looks like on the flat bottom break, it's headed to it. Maybe tomorrow, maybe today. Maybe there's a $7 bounce play on SoFi. I'm not opposed to that. There's still 45 minutes left in the day, 44 minutes left in the day. There is time. If I see 7 even, that is a 200 period on the daily. I think I take a shot looking for that long in like 01s or 02s. Down that 8%, it would be, yeah, it would be SSR actually if it got down there. It goes short sell restricted if it breaks 706. So that would also be an SSR bounce. Ideally, there's a chance to make that trade today. There's no guarantees when it comes to that, but SoFi suddenly on my radar. I'm going to throw a level 2 up because if it makes one more leg to the downside, I would look for a bit of a relief rally. Novavax, you know what, should have just played the buy the dip instead of waiting for the break. You just looked at that. It just could not flush any further. There's your entry. Instead of waiting for the top to break and go squeezing, you just look for the lower high. You can be long at 780 with a 10-cent stop, playing it into the high of the day instead of looking for a break of the high of the day, which is still going to happen. I'm going to get my order in. I'll take another shot. I lost 3 cents on it last time. I think risking 10, 15 cents the second time through. Let's see if it can go. But the dip buy has proven to be better here. And then OCEA, I wanted to at least give an update on that. We brought that one to your attention. It just made an attempt to get back above the Hall price and failed it there. If I'd paid for locates, I'd be considering it shorting over beneath the Hall price, but I don't really know much about the story. The volume's also died down a ton. That's why it's not that interesting to me. But it is making a bit of a recovery. I said I would only ever look for these long when they hold above that Hall price. But Novavax, 10 cents away, 12 cents away from breaking that high. Let's see if we can get it. Matt Carnes, thanks. I asked earlier about it. Been double short since its pop yesterday morning. That's SoFi, I'm assuming you're talking about. Wow. Yeah, great short. I mean, that's like SoFi. I'm really surprised. I did not realize that SoFi was this far to the downside. But yeah, like there's their double top, and then it just failed right away at the open. This is what Rivian did at the open. Like just fail instantly. Just break down. Like there's your failed above 23. Could not bust the highs. Flat bottom break, or whatever you want to call it, support break at 23, even it just continues to flush. SoFi was a great short, Matt. That said, it's close to $7, so you know if it gets to 7, it's a long for me. Risk 2 or 3 cents on it. You don't often get trades like that on where you get a $7 even, and it happens to be a major moving average on the daily. That's relatively rare, but that's exactly what's lined up on SoFi. The 200 period and 7 even. Only 2 cents worth of risk. All it has to do is bounce to 7.10, and you got yourself a good trade. If it gets to 7 in the first place. Big if. I'm not getting long here.
Year-to-date low on Boeing? I didn't realize that. Okay, so I'm not
Seriously? I thought it bounced.
I'm not getting in and out of any of my positions anymore, dude. I'm just going to be buying everything on dips, and just my kids can deal with it. Okay, too much stress.
I'm not buying this one.
No, but what I do want to buy is tonight's recap show. Oh, I got the blue check mark back.
Oh my God.
Okay, but by the way, today's recap show will be attended by the one, the only, the trader, the author, the technical analysis master, using multiple time frames. His new book, I'm just reading what it says on here. It's Brian Shannon going to be here tonight with us, followed by many, many people. Big, huge mind in the game. I can't honestly, the kind of guest that we've had on here has been amazing. This is his book. We have it up there as well. Only 300,000 views. But anyways, big, huge market technician guy coming through here on the close today. And I just tweeted at him, man, or not tweeted at him. We're DMing each other. Marissa, don't worry, he slid into my DMs. No. But anyways, what I was going over there is I just DM'd him, and I was like, can you believe Meta was hanging around this 302? We'll talk about this 302 VWAP trade coming up very, very soon here. So just a matter of 40 minutes. It's Brian Shannon. It's me. Traders Stay Late. It's the market recap show. Man, we're putting out such great content, man. We've got the lunch money that's happening every day at 12. We've got the midday show now with Adara, Obi, Sharif. What was that?
No, just the middays.
Like it's packed up right now.
All day, every day.
Frank Kaberna, Danielle Shea, who I guess is off all week. Thanks, Brendo, for that one.
Michael Noss twice a week.
Multiple times pocket, a week. The Noss boss. 20, 30, 40, 50, 80%, no, 30% off trade ideas right now. I was going to just keep going up.
50, 70.
I'll speak to that CEO. We got to get a higher percentage than that. But the thing is that I remember when we were in the meeting with Trade Ideas, and I said, we're only doing this if we have the absolute best discount on the street. And that was the only way we're doing it. So you're never going to find better than 30%. And if you do, send it to me. We get that figured out ASAP on that one, ASAP Rocky. You can see right here, dropping through 300. Will it happen on Meta? I don't know, but it's held it all day. So I would think a betting man, just like a betting man should be on the Jays plus 104 like I'm on. I feel like coming back in right now. Oh, just like yesterday, Neil, I had a new segment on the after show. You'll like this one too. I have it in my other pool. My Monday Night Football play of the day was even money, Kenneth Walker anytime touchdown. Kind of lucky that it hit, to be honest with you, because I don't know if you saw the play.
No, I wasn't watching. I went to bed. That's not a very good game.
It was a bad game, 24-3. Noah Fant caught the ball, and for some reason, I don't know if he ran out of bounds, something happened there, but he went out at the 1 yard line. So then they just handed it to Kenneth.
I have Walker in both my leagues, but I had the matchup locked.
He had a horrible week. He had 12 fantasy points, just 13.
He had a touchdown at 80 yards.
Yeah, no, I'm saying. Oh, he didn't have 80 yards, I don't think.
Yeah, he did. I looked at the box score.
Did he have a fumble then? Because I think he only had 12 or 13 points. Anyways, doesn't matter.
He didn't catch any balls.
On Thursday, the primetime game, will have another bet for you. And
that's a dog this week.
And if it's Chicago, Washington, but I'll have a trade. I'll have a.
It should be a prop on Sacks because I actually think Fields is going down a lot.
1,400 times, yeah.
I mean, yeah. It's,
who do they play?
Chase Young, Washington. Chase Young's going to be all over.
Oh, God,
trust me. I'm starting the Washington defense in my pool. Just one quick thing.
I did over.
I took a second shot on Novavax there, breaking the high of the day, but I'm stopping out 80 every single time. Like, I don't want to be stubborn about it. If with a 45% short float, it's a pretty significant level on the daily. I think if it can get and hold above that level, it's got a lot of room to run. Maybe it needs tomorrow for this kind of a break. Like, you can see here, like the local top at 8. If it breaks it, like you got a $50 worth of room. So risking the first time 3 and the next time 10 there, I think it can be worth it. I don't know if I take a third swing. We're getting late on in the day. It's 3:24. I'm getting very close to that final half an hour. But Novavax has been the big runner. Like, if something was going to give you an up move of a few percentage points, I don't think there was anything else here except for Novavax. Zelda saying it will run to 20 easy. I don't know necessarily the addressable on that, but I can tell you that when a stock has a 45% short float, I'm just pulling up, I'm pulling my trade ideas out so I can show you the weekly chart because you want to look at the weekly. When you say 20 easy, look at the weekly. Basically on the weekly, everything is a blip that's meaningless until you get to $18 and then to 25. So I think that's what you're getting at. Like, there is nothing. It's been so beaten up. This is, how far can we go back? There you go. 300 and whatever. I think it was 330. 330 all the way back. It's at 8. If you look at that weekly chart, I see $18 and then 25. You say 20. When the stock is $8, that's a distinction without a difference. I don't think it's getting there. Obviously, I don't think it's getting there today, but I was just looking for that 8 break to maybe get us to 850. As far as the third swing, I think I'd rather take a dip buy instead of chasing these breakouts. You know, a couple of breaks that don't work, one tight stop, one a little wider. I'd rather see if I can't pick something up on a dip and just get a better risk to reward. 45% short float, sometimes it's worth it for the pure breakout play. Darwin, Novavax should partner with Mullen. Mullen could use the jab in the arm.
Yeah, that's actually a pretty good one.
No, Mullen is...
Why are we
Mullen
talking
is
about partnering
like-
with Mullen?
Because we're making a joke about how bad
okay,
Mullen's stock has been.
okay.
You know what?
I was
Just
going to say MRN. You know,
flat bottom break alert on Mullen at 40 cents, by the way. I'm just going to throw that one out
it's like
there.
Neo, man. You know, you buy a car. There it is.
Oh,
You buy a car, flat bottom break on a lot of stocks, I feel like today. Buy a car, get a phone. You know?
Yeah, buy a car,
get a jab.
I don't know.
No, I don't think I mean, it could be interesting. Okay, well, we're only right now $5 in the money on Airbnb. So I'm going to get out at 127.50, man. Let's just follow the yellow brick road here. And that's 127.50. It's a 21 period moving average. Yeah, Brian Shannon is 100% confirmed. He sent back, you know, instead of like a thumbs up or something, he sent an anchor emoji at me for anchor view up. So
okay.
How creative, Brian. I like it. I'll see you in an hour. All right, Apple. So, oh, by the way, what goes up must come down as we take bearish action right now on Meta. Meta now $2 in the money. We talked about it joining the dollar club, but it didn't join the, oopsies, it didn't join the dollar club. It joined the $2 club real quick right now. So Meta, nice move on the way down. Again, like if we knew this would happen, we wouldn't have got out here or here. But when it falls down, it's good to still have a little bit on as we start to make new lows here on Meta just for the period. Is it new lows for the day? World Series coming back today,
You never know.
soon. First step.
I saw at least a few people on the trading floor that were sporting their Jays gear and not just myself.
I saw somebody as well, right
Yeah,
back
you
there, the
damn
92 Jays. Oh, which means
Yeah,
me
buddy.
into here.
Get
we
the
go.
troll out. That's what I'm talking about.
This is an official troll from the 1992 regular season where it has on the back, Game 1, Oakland 4, Toronto 3. What the hell? We were down on Game 1 in the American League Championships, but then again in Atlanta, 6 games to take it down.
Thank you for bunting Otis Nixon.
Yeah, Otis Nixon there. Wasn't Dion on that team? Or
that was, yeah, because that was
a year
the,
before.
That was the triple, like the triple play that was.
Right, where he dived down and then Gruber touched him.
Everybody saw Kelly Gruber tag Dion on the
Apparently
back
they
of the
did
play.
not,
That
but
is
most people did, for sure.
a triple play. It would have been like the greatest defensive play in World Series history.
Would have
And
it
we
been,
got
though?
robbed.
I don't know if that's true or not.
Okay, fine. There's probably others.
But anyways, it was a good play.
I'm a bit of a
needless to
homer, you
say,
guys
and,
can tell.
yeah, so we got the lucky troll here. It's all good. Oh, by the way, man, it's like Airbnb is like just exceeding expectations now with an official $5 right here on the sticky note. It doesn't matter. All we're doing is learning from this trade. Where it is now doesn't matter. It's a break of a key level right here on what is bad news, helped out, of course, by your friendly neighborhood market right now, down 2%. Feels like we're at Whole Foods right now. Everything was expensive, now what is half price. Nice move to the downside here as it does continue. Amazon is probably Puke City. We should still have that short, but we don't. One name that's not going down that much at all, like Meta's at day's low. Apple is nowhere near day's low. Day's low is $1
It's not
from here.
moving, App. It's
So
weird.
Apple is like my disappointing stock, although that's $1 in the money. Still disappointing because felt like it should be moving a little bit better than that. I am going to update my Airbnb because now this thing keeps going down. I'm going to get out at 127.25. I'm just going to keep on moving it down 50 cents and hope for the best. NVAC still sub 8.
Yeah, this time I bought the dip. This is what I should have done in the first place. It's just a more reasonable trade. Just because you do something that you don't think is good doesn't mean you shouldn't make the trade that was there in the first place, which is buying the dips. I've said this like time and time again for these like low float and small cap runners, that the buy the dip on a parabolic mover has been a more effective strategy than taking breakouts, and you just watch me take 2 breakouts. So if I go 0 for 3, at least the third time was doing something that I know makes a little bit more sense. If it can hold on to that previous low, the local bottom, fine. I'll take 1 out above $8 into the high, then and look for a breakout. It is now 3:30. So we're going to get the early look on the imbalances. I'm holding up for low of the day on ARM. That's about 30 to 40 cents from here. Daryl is a Yankees fan. You have my full support only if the Braves, Rangers get knocked out. Lived in Atlanta, so I got a soft spot for them. Why the Rangers? Why do you like the Rangers? We don't like the Rangers here because one of the
Rangers.
We don't like the Texas Rangers. If I love Texas, I've been to Texas a couple times. It's just the fact that their second baseman knocked out one of our star players back in the day.
Plus, Simeon went there, and
I like Marcus Simeon, but
but we lost him to them.
when Odor threw the punch at Batista, I can't like Texas for at least a few years after that. So he knocked the living piss out of him. Let's be real for a second. He got him pretty good, but I don't like him. Oh, you currently live in Texas, yeah. I love Dallas. Been down there a few times, fantastic, but got to rep them Jays.
Of course.
I can root for Texas at least until we face them. There's that.
Yeah, and then plus you love the Cowboys and stuff. I mean, there's lots of reasons.
I like the Houston Texans.
It's not here.
Go C.J. Stroud, baby.
Yeah, C.J. Stroud having a nice start.
QB3.
299.70. I mean, we're 225 now in the money on Meta, and it's just now that we've broken below $3 I feel like heading into the close here, man. It's just like watch everything bleed down. This is a good trade for us. Oh, yeah, and by the way, I don't know if you guys believed in Rivian possibly going to $1 in the money, but there it is right now. Rivian continues to bleed. I said this might be worth a pickup near $20. Well, it might be getting there today.
Here now.
Nah, it's not today. It's going to get there soon. 21.60 right now, nice downside. We can look maybe at Rivian to see if there is, if there is anything else here on Rivian. This downward move is $21. 21, 21, 20. So 21, can you do something for me right now? Let's see if we get down in here. Let's bid, see, this is where we get silly. Let's bid 21, 21 down there just because right now. Oh, a company just filed for bankruptcy. Never heard of them, MKUL. A molecule group halted right now, chapter 11. These guys, MKUL right now, filed for chapter 11, will operate as a debtor in possession, not good, seeking credit facilities. So if that's going to be a problem there, shareholders will get no equity when that happens, per usual, I guess. Hence why it's 21 cents. MKUL down there to 20 cents, just now filing for bankruptcy.
Yuck.
So if you, chapter 11, debtor position, it says, debtor in possession, sorry. So, whatever bonds or whatever they have outstanding there will get, taken care of first. So I don't know when this will open back up, but there is that one.
Maybe never.
Maybe never.
We've seen that
never
before.
Say never.
Well, we have seen that before. Like a penny stock, if it's already down there, down 20 cents, and then that happens,
$300.20.
the next time you trade it can be on the OTC market.
Yep.
Certainly possible. If you've ever been in that position, I haven't, but I know some traders that have. Sometimes you get a short-term rally on a stock that goes to the OTC, like just as shorts start covering or people start covering. Let's see if this bounce will happen on Novavax. The market's just absolutely flushing. I do have a bid underneath 51 in case ARM gets there, but I'm looking for Novavax to maybe move. Anthony's saying MKUL opens at 410. Okay, that makes some sense. They'll halt it into the aftermarket. I haven't seen that, but you can always just double check at NASDAQ Trader.
No, I see it right here on Benzinga.
Yeah, they just threw it up.
says 410.
Yeah, it says resumption quote time right there.
You see it, okay, good.
Yeah, once you have a quote, because it says T1. Once this goes T3, that's news-based. That's like full dissemination of the news, and then you can have an open time. Until that happens, you're not going to get it opening up. It's a great resource. NASDAQ Trader, not affiliated, but their trade halts page is one that I always have up. You'll want to know the reason for a halt. Sometimes it'll prevent you from staring at the stock, 5 minutes waiting for it to open back up, and you wonder why it hasn't, because it's probably news-based. It's nasty. We're not getting to 2.5% yet, but we are at 2.2%. There's a reason these bad boys are bears.
Look at Airbnb.
And a reason we always listen to Brendo at the desk.
More on this TAP story as well. Another halt, still halted, is Molson Coors here. $2 billion share purchase buyback just approved from the board as well for Molson Coors, guys.
Yeah, they're just not opening that up, I guess. Well, everything is out. I don't know. It's still at T1, so this is my guess is
dropping news.
It ain't opening today. If they're still dropping news now, we're not going to get this open by the end of the day. I mean, that sounds buybacks are good, but if you don't get to trade it, you don't get to trade it. Maybe you put it on your list for tomorrow. Not a bad bottom at 61, but again, we can't trade this until it opens, and it doesn't seem like it's going to open today, unfortunately.
Okay, so we're about to get out. Well, we're not about to get out of anything, but we're $5.50 now on Airbnb, and I just switched it over to 127. Every time we get a leg down, I'm just going to keep going 25 more cents. Like, I can't do 126.75 because that'll most likely just come out right now. So we will, although it just rejected it, we will just continue to go upside here and try to find some levels. You see it like it tried to take out 127 right there again, and it missed. So if it breaks it, fine. I feel like at some point it's going to, right? Oh, and I did put an out on Meta, by the way. Meta $300.25. So again, we're trading around the triggers right there. So we've kind of zoomed, well, we zoomed in enough now for you guys to see it. It's right there. That's a level break. So about, here it goes. There it is. Let's go.
Awesome.
Out of Meta. Obviously, you know, one thing that I'm learning, and this is fine for me to learn this real time with all of you because it's what we're doing, is if you're going to wait for $2 moves, $3 moves, $5 moves, $10 moves, $1 move, 10 cents move, you know, you're never going to catch the absolute bottom. But if I just keep getting out all the way down, which is what I'm trying to do, like with Amazon, you know, like all of these outs, sure, when you're taking them, you know, like you're taking them because you're afraid that it's going to stop, you know, at certain levels. So you're getting out, like these are all like 10 cents ahead of this. So it's not super dramatic, but we're not sure if 125 is going to hold or not. So then you get out, right? And then there you have one ultimate out at 124.85. That's the bottom. And then when it comes back up, like if I don't think about, okay, where am I going to get out? Like, see, that is 124.45, 124.50. We're short at 125.70, so that's $1.30, right? So it's like, oh man, like I still think it can go down from here. But then you got to look back and say, okay, so when it's down here, where's my out? And then now it's not going to look great because it's just kind of been going to the downside. But at the time, that was an out that I picked, you know, and I think the same thing kind of with Meta, as if I can find it here on my board. Because I actually traded about, well, first of all, I think we'll go 8-2 today. I think the same two losses we have from the beginning, Airbnb and Google. But the thing is like, here's a downside move on Meta. So like I get out here because I'm worried about 300. And then we get out here because we're worried about it breaking higher. But we never get out here because there's no reason to get out at 299.65. So you always are going to miss some of that bottom. And that's okay. It's $7 million to sell. I think you might have mentioned that from Brendan.
I typed it in the chat. It wasn't worth $7 million to sell is pretty nonsense.
Yeah, so hopefully the NASDAQ will come with some more heat. The S&P, though, today, you can see that's down 1.6. And what are we sitting at here on the ES? 42.60, 42.55 right now sitting on the ES. So this has also been a pretty dramatic move to the downside. Trying to level off again, probably something to do with the banks. We already saw JP Morgan getting absolutely killed right now. So we'll see about it. Nice downside move here in the NASDAQ, nice downside move in the ES, continuing into today. So, oh man, what's up, Dinesh? Spinning right now. I haven't had much luck on the slots today, but we're definitely, you know, fake money is the slots. We're trading real money right here. And
the slots is like pure gambles. Plus, I don't know, I'm 1 for 50 on those slots. If you want to, it's just a little bit of thing. It's just something that's fun. It's a subscriber-only chat, so you can play like a little bit of games out there. So if you are a subscriber, hit the like and subscribe, and then you can hit.
T-Daddy just took it.
You can hit spin, like it's like exclamation mark spin. Sean just did 21. Of course, you bet 21. Yeah, T-Daddy hits it.
T-Daddy just before me. I see you, T-Daddy.
No one ever. Once somebody wins, I found like nobody wins within the next 5 or 6 spins.
That's why I did it. And this guy beat me by
no chance.
A couple seconds there. Good.
No chance, because that's what you got.
T-Dad.
And if you're wondering where you get the points, it just comes down to like the hours that you watch of the show, and then you gain points from that. And on top of that, like if you're active in the chat, like you can also
everyone's
gain
spinning.
Points
Everyone's
now
spinning.
Everybody wants to spin and try and get. I've already lost today. I'm not going to do it. If we don't bounce soon off 50, so if we don't break through soon off 51.20 on ARM, I'm just going to get out and take the 50 pennies. That's all we can get. That's all we can get. I'm going to tighten up the stop because that's what I do at this time. If it does not want to go down further, then I'm going to make sure I have my stop at VWAP instead of at that 75 level. So always tightening up the stop as we get closer to the end of the day. If you're tuning in for the first time, understand that we are day trading, got to be out of positions by 4 o'clock. Usually don't want to give it till that. When the imbalances come out, sometimes it can shock the stock. In that vein, If Novavax is going to go sideways, it means it hasn't broken against me this time on the dip buy, but it hasn't moved. So going to start scaling out of it on the way to the upside. This could be one for an $8 break tomorrow. You got the news for it. It's got the 45% short float. Could just be running out of steam after a huge move up. But if this can close holding anywhere near these highs and make a run at that $8 area tomorrow, still very much in play for tomorrow's trade. Crazy, crazy day. So to find something which is actually giving you a reason to go potentially long tomorrow, I think that makes a heck of a lot of sense there. And again, it is what it is. Like, I understand these things can come back into the downside too. It hasn't really quadrupled. Usually if you fail an $8 break, I'm expecting you to have already pulled back into 750, 740. Weird that it's doing neither one of those two things. Generally expect either it's a big breakout or a pullback of 10%. Surprised if we don't get at least one of those two. Let's go to the desk and handle some business. Yeah? No? Fake Brendan is having performance anxiety over there.
Ouch, Brendan.
The market's down, so it's not. It has nothing to do with that. We'll get to that in a quick little second. Just one note: we're talking about the early look on the imbalances for you guys. Nothing has stood out. If you look at these ones, Ford is a buy, but that's not that significant. 1.7 million for the $12 stock. Kenvue is there literally every single day, and nothing happens on it. It's the banks that are interesting, and then it's the Canadian banks to the downside. Always watch out for imbalances. We'll show you ones that are significant, but if it's a dual listed stock, you might not want to pay too much attention to it unless you know what any potential imbalances on the other market. So if it's a dual listed with Brazil, you want to know what's going on in Brazil that day. If it's dual listed with Canada, then don't just sit there thinking, $1 million to sell on TD and Royal Bank. Well, those are going to be listed in Toronto as a primary market, and maybe they're the other way and there's some kind of weird hedge going on, and then you could be trading against that, which never makes any sense. So apparently we are now ready to go to the desk to handle some business.
Brought to you by IG.com. Trade Forex pairs like Euro USD with spreads as low as 0.8 pips and zero commissions at IG. Terms and conditions apply.
Well said, Brendan. Well said. Okay.
Brendan was on point with that.
Yeah, Brendan's always on point.
To be able to deliver that so consistently.
What I noticed was the consistency day after
every single day. You see me, we chew through like word sauce by the end of the day.
It's unbelievable.
Sometimes the sentences don't flow the way that they're supposed to, but Brendan,
it's always
just on point like that.
It's like
I
the
admire
exact same thing every day. It's amazing to be able to do that. Okay, so yeah, just in case we flushed out, we have to be flat at 4 o'clock. So the fact that we've basically held Rivian pretty much all afternoon and from the midday till now, we've held this since 12:30. It's getting to be some downside moves right now. So I'm starting to get some takeouts out right now on Rivian. So 22.71 was my first out. Now we'll change that right here to 21.71 right now on Rivian. So that's what we're doing right here. If it goes back up to the upside, we will get out. I'm just setting up the orders right now. Stop order now in. Rivian getting out there. 22, if the 50 period breaks. So we actually followed our rules right here. Short, VWAP, wait for 50. That's that. Downside, nicely done there, hopefully. We are still on Apple. I do not have a trigger. Oh, actually, I do. I just did put a trigger in for Apple, but I think, why didn't it trigger? No, I did not. So I got carried away and did not put in a trigger for Apple. Apple right now starting to go back up to the upside. We don't have very many left on board. Would hate to get out all the way up here, 172.50. So what about right now, 172.30 break? We'll get out of that. We just got taken out of something there. It was Airbnb, so that comes out finally as well. So there goes Airbnb out of said portfolio for a $5, was it? Their winner, yeah, so pretty good trade there on Airbnb. Let's see where we go now. 497 on that trade, guys, Airbnb.
So I got out of Novavax. I'd be happy about the fact that I finally hit the slots, but Novavax got out at 775. The only good thing about this is the trade that I should have put on in the first place was buying the dip, right? So the next time I go for the breakout when there's a dip buy to be had to risk less to get more, then I should get like slapped in the face with a trout. That's a bit of an inside joke. So slap me with a trout if I chase breakouts on these instead of going for the dip buy. The third time I went for the dip buy, if I had done that the first time, there would have been at least some profits on this trade, and then this would have been the second time through that it didn't work. That's what I mean. A lot of times if you miss the initial move, it is the dip and rip that you want instead of just a clean breakout of the high of the day. That's just how it's been doing the last little bit. I saw someone in the chat will short this name. Good luck, because if it fails the $5 level, like this last push, when it fails that break, that's not a bad short entry back into VWAP. I've done it myself. I just felt with the market down, sometimes I like to hunt for something which is breaking out on the small cap space. A lot of times it's worked today. It did not. I want to get to just one last one. Obviously, SoFi didn't get to $7. It did bounce a little bit. This is in the pocket tomorrow. 7 even. If I see that, that's the 200 period on the daily, as mentioned before. Well, this is one of those levels. You don't get a chance often where you have a key level on the daily. Like look at $7 in the past, resistance into breakout support, into the 200 period moving average, and it's a round number as well. Like everything is lining up for that to be a significant level tomorrow, and I think I want to trade that if we get to it. That's the big thing. If we get to it, ARM. If it's only going to be 51.20, I'm just going to get on the bid at 51.20. This was a reload from a 52 short, lower high in there, and then play it to the downside. I think this is going to get to $50 this week. That is its all-time low. It's only been trading a couple of weeks, so it's not really saying much. But if it breaks that, I want that short when it does, much like its brethren, Instacart, Fresh. I mean, obviously everything's all-time low. So Fresh all-time low for that. And then it was Klaviyo. Klaviyo down 7% today. In 3 minutes, we're gonna get the imbalances. We'll see if there's anything there. The early look is pretty much nothing. It's still 7 million, no change. So pretty insignificant in terms of the imbalance to the downside. But the market doesn't need imbalances to move. What can happen is some profit taking, maybe if it were to come out, like flip from a small sell to like a decent size buy, you could see some shorts taking some profit if that were the case. So tighten stops, getting on the bid here on ARM just to make sure we get out.
So I have a bid at 171.75. Oops, that's Meta. Sorry, on Apple, 171.75. That's the bottom right there. If that comes through, and then the top just broke through 30. So if we break again, we will get out at 172.30. We were just sort of talking about some of the trades there, and we were just talking about Airbnb, and that just came out. And Chris, you asked me on the chat if it was a trailing stop. I don't use trailing stops, but I do. I mean, and I answered you and said basically, essentially, it was a trailing stop because, you know, at one point, our stop was here at 127.60. Then we brought it down to 127.50. Then we brought it down to 127 flat. So as it kept going on, we kept on looking for areas of support or resistance. And then eventually, it was down to 126.50. And we were like, I mean, the market started to go back up. We're getting near the end of the day.
You know what?
So I was just like, let's just put a stop there. Plus, it was the 21.
That's my fault. Because when I'm manually putting stop outs and changing them all the time, I call that a trailing stop. And I understand that's not really a trailing. Yeah, like a trailing stop is like if it retraces 10% or if it retraces 30 cents or 50 cents or $1 from a certain level, it automatically gets out. And then it keeps on moving without you doing anything. That's a trailing stop. Yeah. I constantly will say, oh, I'm trailing it to this level, and then when it goes to the next level, I move it to the next. That's technically not a trailing stop.
No,
so that's
not. But
that's kind of my bad because we just sort of speak the way that we speak, and sometimes
lazy trailing stop. I mean, trailing stop is, in my opinion, a little bit lazy, but it's good because if you do have direct areas you want to stop out at, I feel like that makes a lot of sense. Like if you're just playing a range and you already know. Like, you know, you want to get out halfway through, like it's now in the money and you want to get out halfway back through the range, something like that. But like on an Airbnb where it just keeps on dropping, like the thing is I don't want it to drop $2 and then retraces 25 cents and I get out. That's not my definition of what I was trying to do.
For example, for me, it's like Affirm. Like if it went 20 to 19, 19 to 18, once it taps 18 and shows a bid there, I'm just going to trail it from that point because I kind of feel like it's going to bounce off that even dollar.
Level, yeah.
I just got out of ARM, so I'm going to ring the register there. But thank you in the chat. Someone just asked about Shopify. I missed it. I was trying to scroll there. It was Bonkzilla. Shop, question mark. Shop, 50. throwdown, flat bottom break, or whatever you want to call it. We're just talking about key levels. Underneath the 200 period moving average, down 5% today. You've already tested and bounced off 50 once. There's the last breakout on earnings on the 3rd. Notice how I'm not even like checking to make sure it was earnings on the 3rd. It's not doing that unless it's earnings, I'm going to assume. Like that volume spike.
The 3rd?
No. Sorry. This is May 4th. So that was May 4th, actually.
Okay.
It was May 4th. But I'm going to assume that was earnings. But if this breaks 50, look out below. It can be support till it ain't. Till it's not, but that's pretty nasty. The imbalances are out. Do you have them? Let me just slide over.
It's $300 million to sell from Brendo.
Ford did come out of sell. That's nothing. RY is there. That's nothing. Enbridge. Palantir, 600,000 to buy.
Hold on a second. Like, is RY actually nothing, or did it move the stock? No, it actually went up.
But it might be something else in Toronto. That's the other.
Oh, yeah. No. I just meant like.
Neo's a set. Yeah, that's nothing. AMD's a buy, 500,000. That's nothing really.
Yeah, not much happening.
300 million to sell.
Just double checked. It's actually nothing in Toronto as well, so there is nothing there on RY. I think the banks, man, just be getting. We had a huge trade yesterday on JP Morgan. I'd have to look back on Twitter. Part of why I tweet out the charts too is so I myself can look back, because for some reason, man, we used to have. I'm gonna actually have to ask.
I think it's because it stopped working properly. To be honest.
Yeah. I would like to get that request back, actually, where it was even showing our trades from last time as well. What happened to Apple? Upside or downside? Okay, upside for Apple. So we'll slap a little bit of a fail on because we don't have the best fill. I mean, I can't believe I'm failing a 50-cent win, but you know, we could have done better on most of these shorts, right? But we held them here into the close. Thanks again for watching. In just a couple minutes, I'll be heading over there to the main desk and talking all about the close and all about, we'll talk about the close, how we closed up, but market recaps, look at some sectors, some earnings plays, so on and so forth. Tilray, really the only big one. Conagra this week, Levi's as well. We have Brian Shannon coming through. Amazing. We'll talk all about different trade ideas that he has. Last week, he taught us about if there's a gap, wait for VWAP. So he taught us that last week, and I won't forget that. I've been using it a little bit. I'll tell him thank you for it as well. And then, more to come, man. Trade reviews and all of that. I will see everybody at 4 o'clock. Don't go anywhere. This will flip right over. It's only a half hour. We've had to put the death clock on that. So at a half hour, it rings, and then we close it out. So if you have 25, 30 minutes, join me right after for that. As the day's winding down, man, I don't know if we'll get a dollar on Rivian or not.
We totally forgot to mortgage everything to buy the SPY at 420.
No, I did mortgage everything.
Well, I'm
moving on up.
If this chart will ever load to a deluxe apartment in the sky.
To a wicked-ass condo in Toronto.
Well, that's going to cost you an arm and leg.
Yeah, I did. I mortgaged everything.
420. The market did bounce at 420 on the SPY. I'm not making that crap up. Where's our 420 graphic, man? Like that.
We've asked for it. It's being worked on.
It's just the level that keeps on giving for you. We've been promised this 420 graphic back again. Like, it was gorgeous. Anybody that's been around a while knows how good it is. Why did the market go up on a sell imbalance was the question. So again, the imbalances don't have to necessarily move the market. Why am I flipping to my futures chart when I just had the SPY up? Okay, anyways. The market.
SPY at anyways.
It was 421, 421.5.
Yes.
A lot of times what will happen at the end of a downward day is you have people that are covering. Like, what direction would you be taking profits today? You're taking profits by covering short. So you've already made one bottom on the SPY. You made a double bottom in there. There was no gigantic sell imbalances. So the relief rally at the end of the day is to simply take some profits. And a lot of times you can get a bounce like that. Doesn't mean go long. Like, that could have easily come at $1 billion to sell, and then we're reversing it in the other, continuing through lows. But sometimes it's as simple as that. Shorts have to cover too, and that buying action can cause a little bit of a bounce. But not bad, that 420 level. I don't remember how quickly he said it was going to get there, but that was like last week. And it bounced at least the first time. The question will become, can it bounce again tomorrow? Obviously, a much bigger story if we can bounce and hold this level tomorrow. Not much time for us to make any kind of a big rally to the upside. You got about $1 here on the SPY. Like 50 points on the NASDAQ futures. That's not a heck of a lot in the grand scheme of things. We're still down 1.9% on the NASDAQ, 1.4 on the ES. It has been one of these types of days. Now my Stream Deck's not working. There we go. Everything's slow on my PC. It's been a red day. The good thing about trading, is you can get to go short. That's all I can say. Like if you're actively trading, the ability to go short or take an inverted, something gets inverted and go long, which is effectively going short, it needs to be in your toolbox, or you're just sort of sitting out certain types of days. Because if you're trying to go long today, there wasn't much you could do that was going to work out for you.
All right. Yeah, it's 3:55 right now. Sometimes you do get a little bit of a reversal in the market there, as some of you may have noticed. Again, nothing really here to talk about on the imbalance locator, so we probably won't do that. Palantir, I feel like you might want to buy, like, this is a name here right now. I think this could be a swing trade. Buy Palantir here into tomorrow. You know, a good market day bounces this stock tomorrow. Like, is it going to get to 14? Maybe. Would you average in down there if it got there on Palantir? Probably. So that would be something that I'd be looking at right now. If the market does rebound, I actually like this stock for tomorrow coming through. So we'll wait to see if Palantir can do that. Again, you know, trade your book and everything will be fine. But right there, I don't mind that. Like if we come in tomorrow and Palantir is like at 1380 or something like that, I'm hitting the short out of this thing on that break like crazy.
Flat bottom
1350. That is
a big move though. It has to go another.
No, yeah, it's gonna have to go another move. I mean, it's at 1480, so we got to get another dollar down, which it could do. I mean, it's doing that today. So I don't think that's going to happen, but there's the market. We talked about a little bit of a rebound, which is why, again, like out on Apple, right? Tesla outs aren't going to look great, but we're out on Tesla there. We're out on Meta. Where does that land up? So Meta out is good. Like our Meta out is $300.10, so that's looking pretty good right now as well. So all is good, man. It's been a good day. I hope you guys can all see that. Lots of great trades happening. AMD is going to be my #1 stock today. And it's crazy, like we just had a lot of shares on board, but again, with this kind of a move down, we don't even have the bottom at all. We don't even have close to the bottom, man. My out was at $100.50. But when you trust it, you take it. It was up there at 103. You could see that I loaded it up, man. Most of these outs, 101.50, 102. So AMD for me is my #1 stock, and we'll see if we can do that again tomorrow, followed by Amazon and Apple. So that's what's happening today. Tesla, we gave a little bit back there. We talked about that, and look at Amazon. Again, another good trade off the 200-period moving average. So all good, man. I'm going to flip over there. Thank you so much for watching. Hit the like, hit the subscribe, and do it for her.
Hola. Like and subscribe today.
Do it for Katrine working hard. Do it for Adara doing a fantastic job in the midday. Do it because you enjoy the show. Like hit the like and subscribe. Do it because we're always willing to answer your questions. Even if it's about whatever NVOS is. Novo, I have to read the name of the company because I've never heard of them. Novo Integrated Sciences. I don't know, apparently a week ago they signed some master collateral transfer agreement. Don't know what that's going to mean for the company, but it is moving. And it is a little bit interesting if it gets to 50 cents tomorrow. So I'm just going to throw that out there. This is a couple of days ago last week. And then today, just making a bit, I don't know if something happened here, just a technical break. I think it's probably done for the day because it's already made 25% from the bottom. Not a bad move. When I say 25%, like 32 into 40. It closed, it's not 25% on the day because it closed at 34. But you pop up the daily chart on this. The reason I say alert 50 is simply this. This was, I mean, a penny stock was down 5 or 6 cents. The run past 50 a lot of times takes you to 75 and $1. That's just how it usually works psychologically. Don't know if it's going to have the juice. It's not going to have the juice to get there because we only have a couple of minutes to go. In the aftermarket, anything can happen. It's worth being on the radar. The volume's good, not great. It's at 40 million on the day. If it's going to make a run at that 50-cent level, it probably needs to do 100 million or step off because this is not going to cut it. You need to do over 100 million shares on a penny stock if you're going to make that secondary run. Otherwise, it's not that liquid and you can't get it. As Sean mentioned, there's a lot of flat bottom breaks that are setting up. Shout out to everybody that mentioned Shopify. We'll be watching that. We'll be watching tomorrow, obviously. I've been mentioning SoFi at $7. I'm going to say it again because that's pretty darn spicy if that gets to the $7 level on the 200-period moving average. Less than 1 minute to go. As Sean said, there isn't a heck of a lot in terms of earnings, but if you're interested in the weed stocks, you got Tilray in there. That could put the entire group in play again, as they're now all penny stocks. 30 seconds, and I want to look over my shoulder to make sure that we are ready to ring the bell. It feels like it's already the second half of the week, but it's not. It's Tuesday. You know what I'm doing in about a half an hour? I'm going to be watching my Blue Jays kick butt. It's been a fun day. It's only going to get better when the Jays win 10-1. But let's get the camera off me and onto Adara as we have the final 10 seconds of the day. She's wearing red. It was a red day in the markets. That was perfect. In 4, 3, 2, and ring it. The nice abbreviated, just a few rings. You ring the register to the downside. The market does close on a little bit of a bounce, so it ended up catching a bit, but we're still down 1.75 in the NASDAQ. You can see not a great day. All of the Magnificent Seven were down. Nothing actually held out to the upside. So fantastic day of trading. Fantastic day for the show. Shout out as always to Fabian and Remain and Mark. They've been working relentlessly, doing some things with the green screen with the lighting. On the midday, we had Yannick filling in for Sharif first half, along with Obi, and then we had Sharif and Adara doing their thing. As always, fantastic job. Frank Kaberna came on today. Great job with Brendan giving you the higher look. You know who I am and what I'm going to be doing. Go Jays. But let's get on to the desk. Not only do we have Mr. Shannon, but we're also going to have the trade review and some earnings plays to get to. Stay off the weed. Bye, guys.
All right, welcome everybody. Rundown on. I'm not fooling around, Fabian. We are not fooling around anymore. Welcome to the